is Jeremy Wade, biologist and extreme fisherman. I've hunted down freshwater monsters all over the world. Investigated macabre human deaths and savage attacks. It's not often that I come across a fish I've not heard of before, especially when it could be among the largest freshwater fish I have ever tackled. I am heading to the remote northeast corner of Argentina to catch a monster that somehow got under my radar.
There it is, 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 there it is!
A creature responsible for horrific injuries. It will dissolve the flesh. Even death. Recently I heard rumours of a giant freshwater fish that, if true, would be a brand new species to me. One that I never knew existed in a country that I know little about.
I'm in Argentina. I'm on my way to the Phiranah River. It's the second biggest river system in South America after the Amazon. I know other rivers in South America very well and the creatures that live in them, but this river is very little known in the outside world, and it's also new territory for me.
And most important, this river harbours a killer.
A little while ago I heard about a child who died as a result of encountering something in the water.
A 12-year-old girl was playing close to her village on one of the remote islands set in this huge river. She had entered the water countless times before, but this time it would be different. This time there was something waiting in the shallows, only yards from the bank. The attack was brief but ferocious. She stood no chance against such weaponry. She died soon after in her mother's arms, killed by a freshwater monster. The evidence from the death points to one suspect. Shallow water, piercing barb and speed of attack all suggest a stingray. But this is fresh water, and I wasn't aware that there were stingrays in this river. The Phiranah River rises in southern Brazil and travels through Paraguay into Argentina before emptying into the Atlantic, 3,000 miles from its source. The outback town of Bella Vista lies on the banks of this great river, 500 miles from the sea. Before the arrival of the Spanish, this corner of Argentina was the land of the Guarani people. It is now the home of gauchos, farmers and fishermen. It still has the air of a frontier town here. This is where I am basing myself on my quest for a leviathan. I meet up with some fishermen to find out more about the death of the girl and the creature that I am pitting myself against. And I discover a lot more than I expected.
Es muy peligroso para la gente que camina en la costa del río. Cuando están caminando a la costa del río, gente que va.
They tell me about a small boy who was playing in the river only a short distance from his mother when he was attacked. There was a commotion in the water, then silence, and the boy's lifeless body floated in the shallows right where he'd been playing. What they are describing is a ray, but not one I've ever come across. They call it chucho de rio, or river dog. I've caught giant rays before in Thailand, a massive creature with a tail like a bullwhip. But what they're describing here sounds very different. And unlike that estuarine monster, the Chucho de Rio has made its home 500 miles from the sea. And what really makes this monster different is that it has killed. But how? What makes this animal uniquely dangerous? I visit the regional hospital to meet Dr. Gomez, a surgeon who knows all about stingray wounds.
Cuando entra. Cuando sale.
Wow, okay. It's not a clean cut. You've got these serrations on the spike. So what happens? It makes a mess when it goes in, and then it also rips the flesh when it comes out. The two children most likely died because the barb punctured an artery or vital organ, and they quickly bled to death. But that is not the only cause of death from this massive stingray. Dr. Gomez draws the barb with its backward-facing serrations and venom.
Y en los desgarros y en los pedazos de carne queda la gelatina y el veneno.
So the mucus that's on the spine, it doesn't just contain bacteria. There is actually a venom there, resulting in deep putrid wounds laced with toxins. The entire outer skin produces a necrotic venom, which becomes more concentrated around the tail and along the barb, meaning it is literally cloaked in a venom that destroys tissue. I head out, knowing that I'm on the trail of a creature with such a fearsome reputation that the local fishermen refuse to fish for them. Jose, my boatman, is an accomplished fisherman. He has the all-important local knowledge that I always depend on. His help will be essential if I am to navigate this labyrinth and find the hidden monster. This river is a very, very big river. I was really quite taken aback by the size of it. But as always, you've got features. This is a little channel. And what we've got a real push of current out here. But then that current sort of eddies round. There's a nice slack on that side down. It's exactly the kind of place where any kind of fish would hang out, and then the predators are going to hang out feeding on them. Rays are members of the shark family, but have flattened bodies and wing-like fins. As yet, I've not been able to find out any accurate data about the size of the Chucho de Rio, but the fishermen here tell me they grow very big. I want to know how big. Stingrays patrol the river bottom, predating on small fish and invertebrates, which they locate using sensors that detect the prey's minute electrical field. My gear is too heavy to cast, so I have to adapt. For bait, I'm using armoured catfish, which I float out underneath a bottle and I release by pulling sharply on the line. Jose has a hand line attached to the bottle, which he retrieves after the bait has dropped. Perfecto. I've not got very much lead on. There's quite a surge of current here, but the whole thing that I was trying to do was to use the current to take it down and then pull it off just in the slack beside the current. And that's exactly what will happen to a food item. If you're having to use loads of lead to keep it down, then it's not the kind of place where food is going to settle. But I've got a nice sort of slack bow in the line, which tells me that that bait is in a good place. This is the same rod that I took to South Africa, where I caught 2 500-pound bull sharks. In Thailand, I felt the full force of the ray's strength.
It's spinning the boat. It's taking the boat down.
But also the disappointment of losing what, to this day, could be the biggest fish I have ever had on my line. I am not going to let the same thing happen again. So, armed with what I learnt out there, I prepare to catch myself a monster. Oh, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. That's... Something's really after that there, something's really after. There's a disturbance at the surface, and then nothing. I may or may not have a bait left. Jose thinks that could have been a small ray, maybe having trouble getting the bait in its mouth. Here we go. Something's on that. Something's on that. That's actually fairly unusual. When I attempted to set the hook there was nothing there, but I left the bait in position, and literally within a minute or so something was back at it, so it suggests there's lots of fish down there. So just check that I've got the bait. There we go. So the bait has actually gone. Something actually pulled that off. Whatever is down there seems to be onto me. It's gone very quiet. I'm forced to try another location. The bait lasted about a minute, something like that. Started off as a vicious tapping and then off it went. One after another, my baits are stolen. Yeah, well, that's not going to catch anything. Not like that, it isn't anyway. Something down there is outsmarting me, removing the bait even before I can get it to the bottom. Yeah, always there's this conflict between, do I just stick it out, carrying on doing what I'm doing, or do I change something? And you have to sort of reach a happy medium with that. You have to sort of give something a good go, but be prepared to change if, you know, it looks like you're doing something wrong. It's a piranha, it's a piranha. Wow. Right, what's happened there is that the bait's been chopped in half, and then I foul hooked piranha in the back. I think that's fairly clear. This is what's been taking my bait, and, you know, talk about caught red-handed, there's the evidence. Chunky piranha. I've not actually caught this kind of piranha before. They call it palometa here. Well, it's very similar to the red-belly piranhas in the Amazon. It's got that orangey throat area, very, very solid muscular head. It's very serious piranha, that. There are killers of all sizes patrolling this river. But it is said that the people who live along its banks fear stingrays more than any other. It's a great viewpoint here. Whenever possible, I like to look down on a river. You really can just see so much more. And what's really apparent here is what looks like the opposite bank when you're down at water level. Actually, that's just an island. There's loads of islands here. What's also interesting here, I can see there's a couple of houses dotted around, and I think It's very important I go and talk to those people. These are the people who can tell me not just where to go and try to catch fish, but they might have heard as well about these incidents that I've heard about. These people live a nomadic existence. During the wet season, their ranches are submerged underwater. They're months cut off from the outside world. At a ranch on an island, I talk with a group of gauchos who explain the dangers of living in such isolation, alongside one of the river's most feared predators.
¿Tiene aquí?
Sí, hay muchas en el río acá.
Mucho.
Sí, sí.
Yes, the stingrays here. Me conta.
Caballos, vacas, caballos, vacunos, personas, inclusive personas.
I just asked, do you know anybody who's ever been wounded by one? Yes, but not just people, but also cows and horses too.
Cortan muy hondo las arenas. Y
Sangre,
sí,
muerto.
Sí, muerto. Algunos.
He said, they have known horses to die as a result of a blood vessel being punctured. También infección.
Sí, se hincha, se hace agujeros. ¿Sí? Ahí mueren.
But also they've had other horses die from infection.
Caballo da un relincho, ¿viste? Al ser picado ya.
He says it's almost as if the horses are crying because the pain is so bad. The first place I've stopped, yes, there are rays here, and not just people, but also large animals have actually been killed by these rays.
I'm after a creature that can kill a horse, yet is virtually unknown to the outside world. And it is becoming ever more apparent the fear the people have around here for these creatures. Even small ones are shown no mercy.
Not really quite sure what it's doing here. It's a bit small to have died of old age. Maybe somebody caught it and threw it up on the bank to die. I mean, I have seen sort of free-roaming horses here, and apparently, they will wound their livestock, so you can understand. Oh, wait a minute, it's actually, it looks like it's actually been stabbed. Puncture marks there, so somebody's killed this and just thrown it on the bank, discarded it.
I know what stingrays are capable of, but I am not here to kill. I want to catch one of these creatures to try to understand how it attacks, before releasing it back into the river.
I can actually feel the movement of my bait through my finger on the line here. And this line's got a breaking strain of 200 pounds, but it's very, very fine. The water's not having much effect on it, so I can feel what's happening to the bait. About sort of 40 yards away down there. Feels a little bit like a spider in a way. Spider sitting in the middle of a web with its legs on the lines of the web, feeling for anything coming into the web. And so here I am, waiting for a ray to fall into my trap. Do you know what? No, that felt like Phiranah. Nothing there. What? Look at that. Yeah. That's a £150 line, and that's gone through, but actually I'm not sitting here thinking, oh,
No, that was a huge ray that broke the line. That's actually been bitten. There's a cut there. There's another half cut there, so probably it was a piranha. That was the width of the piranha's jaws there. About an inch or something. So something is that hungry that it actually has eaten my line. Rays have a finely tuned sensory system, which they use to locate prey. But these sensors could also detect my thick line and hook. So by changing to finer gear, I hope to fool the ray into taking my bait. I'm going to scale down, and that's just a bit finer. Still very strong, 175 pound breaking strain that. This is the main line here. It's not going to create a lot of drag when it moves through the water. The current's not going to pick it up. I'm actually quite pleased with that setup. I give it one more go, in the hope that as evening falls, the piranhas will stop feeding. Nothing. That's very odd. Stop. Piranhas are still active by the look of it. Cursed by piranhas. This is the middle of the dry season, and the river is at its lowest, concentrating the fish into smaller and smaller areas, hungry and competing for what little food is out there. Interesting experiment. There's just a tiny little slack beside the river, and it's just full of small fish. Everything in here at this time of year is just so hungry. The trouble is, I put a bait in there, there's so much going to go for it. The difficulty is that bait surviving long enough for the stingray to find it. It is vital to understand the behaviour of the other fish in the river besides your quarry in order to avoid the other species, like the omnipresent piranha. To remove these sight hunters from the equation, I begin fishing at night. Well, it seems like everything's on the feed at the moment. Some movement in the water, but now the mosquitoes have joined in, and so I'm hunting fish, but at the same time there's just masses of mosquitoes after my blood. The only thing that's not on the feed at the moment, it seems, is the stingray. I set my line, now confident it is past piranha feeding time. Nothing. So much for that plan. Another one bites the dust. But I feel as though the noose is tightening. I am closing in. So I further fine-tune my approach. I discard the bottle and begin casting, dropping the bait quickly to the river bottom, reducing the amount of time it's hanging around in mid-water. Now will I finally be rid of the curse of the piranhas. Can you see that? It feels like a piranha. Too big for a piranha. Something has just taken a whole fish bait and it's coming towards the boat. Look at that. So much for piranhas not feeding at night. These Phiranah river piranhas are among the largest and most